volume. Volume's getting a little interesting because you're using more and more terms to define. So with this one, I left some of the definitions out. You'll notice that we have an L, a W, and an H, an R. I left those off because in my previous video where I described area, I defined each of those terms. So I left them off. And what I included were the terms that were not included with area, some new terms like V. V stands for volume. Volume. And then you have a new term. Look at this one. It's big B. Now, I've never, when I was in school, we never used really big B. But big B is a term, and what it means is the base, but big base. That's really what it means. Let me show you what I mean. For instance, let's say I have a rectangular prism. Do you remember that one? Now, it might screw with your eyes a little bit, but I'm trying to draw something that is rectangular, and we can see through it. There we go. Big B. What big B is big B is the base, and you would actually calculate the base. So for instance, let me go ahead and change colors here and tell you what I mean. Do you notice that for a rectangular or a right prism, well, let's just say if it was a right prism, whatever, because it's all the same. Big B means what is the area of this base? This is the floor of the shape. They use the word big B. So what big B means is what is the area of that floor. So in order to do the area of this floor, you need the length of the bottom, and you're going to multiply that times the width. So if I say my length, again, it might screw with your eyes a little bit. Let me use a different color. What if I call this the length? And I want to change colors here. And I call this the width. And then I say, okay, I'm going to call the length the number 10. And I'm going to call the width the number 5. Then in order to calculate big B, which is the base of this shape or the area of this floor, I'm going to do length times width because that's what the area is for a rectangle. So I'm going to do 10, which is my length, times width, which is my 5. So the big B, or the area of my floor, is equal to 50. That is big B, or area of the floor. And that's what it means to be big B. You actually calculate the floor, okay? So look at how many formulas use big B. A right prism uses big B. A pyramid uses big B. And it's only these two where you would calculate the area of the floor. Now, with a right prism, that floor is going to look like a rectangle. And with a pyramid, that base is going to look like a square. So that's what the big B represents in these formulas. Okay? These formulas are not really, they're pretty straightforward how they work. Again, you have to make sure, just be careful when you're working with the shapes that you define L, length, width, and height correctly. That is the hardest part. Notice on cone and on pyramid, do you remember where in area, if it was a triangle, we were taking half of something? Well, this is taking the third of something. So what it means is if you're working with a pyramid and you're looking for the volume, you're going to calculate big B, which is a square. You're going to find the area of a square. So that means whatever number times itself. You're going to calculate that. Then you're going to multiply in times height. You're going to get one number. And then you're going to take that number and divide it by 3. And that would be considered the volume of a pyramid. Now, notice what you're doing to a cone. You're actually doing the exact same thing, which means you're going to take pi, whatever, so 3.14. You're going to find the radius, and you're going to square it. So radius, then square that, then multiply in height. So you're going to multiply all of these terms together. You're going to get an answer, and in the end, you take that answer and you divide it by 3. Now, this one can be a little weird for a lot of people because they're like, uh-oh, what does it mean to be 4/3? Well, 4/3 is just kind of an improper fraction where 4 of 3 is 1 1/3, right? So this improper fraction as a mixed number looks like this. And if I said, well, what is that as a decimal? You would say 1.3 repeating. Now, you can't use this in math problems. So what they do is they say, don't use the mixed number, just use the improper fraction. So what we're going to do is you're going to take pi, see it? You're going to multiply that times r, which is the radius. And look, this time, you're not squaring it, you're cubing it. So that means you're raising it to the power of 3. That word is called cube. Again, it's a vocabulary word. And with cube, that says that this shape has not only length and width, it has also height. 3 means 3D or 3-dimensional. That's what's going on. So if you raise something to the power of 3, any exponent, if I raise any exponent to the power of 3, that is the same as saying 7 to the 3rd power, 7 to the power of 3, or 7 cubed. Again, it's a 3-dimensional shape where it has length, width, and depth or height.